Today, in preparation for President's Day, I share with you some inspirational quotes from past presidents and share with you where you can get some sick USA-made apparel at great prices. Welcome to another episode of the Gideon's Tactical Show. Well, what's up, folks? Welcome to another episode. That's right, we're going to have some fun today. It is the weekend before President's Day for you international viewers here in America. Once a year, we celebrate past presidents and just what they have accomplished and how they have led our country. And I'm going to share some really cool inspirational quotes that I've found for you of past presidents that, regardless if you're an American or not, I think will be very inspirational for you. They speak to the heart, and I'm going to share those with you in just a brief moment. But before we get there, guys, I always want to thank you for your continued support here at the channel. You guys that watch are like family here that watch the show that we do week in, week out. And I always invite you to subscribe if you're not a current subscriber. You subscribers, make sure you hit that bell icon next to the subscription button that you subscribe to. That makes sure that the videos show up in your news feed. Without that, they won't always show up there, and then you might miss some of the content that we produce week in, week out. So before I share the quotes with you, and we'll just kind of break them down, and I think they're really going to inspire you, give you some food for thought. I just want to break down the concept of the presidency real quick. When you look at the Founding Fathers' documents, the Federalist Papers, when you really break down what they intended the presidency to be, they never wanted it to be a position that was like a king, that somebody could just make laws, rule, you know, and make up whatever their opinions were and make that the law of the land. But in the last, 100 years of the United States, we have moved more and more towards that, where the Founding Fathers did not, they just left England and, had fought their independence. They didn't want that type of government any longer, where there was a head, a monarchy, regardless if it was voted in or not, making the decisions for millions and millions of people. They did not want that, and they thought that mankind, which is always left to its own demise, looking for self-interest, not caring about others, but caring about itself, that when they broke up the three branches of government, the legislative, the executive, and the judicial, that each of the three would constantly be fighting for control, so that would keep each other in check. That's why they created it that way. And what's really weird is that, like, in the last 100 years, the legislative, meaning the Senate, or the Congress, the House of Representatives and the Senate, have abdicated really that role, and they have then in turn given way more power to the president, because they're able then to slough off their own role and their own what they agree with, what they don't, and put it now on the president, so that they can continue to stay in power and continue to get voted in year after year after year, and not really have their names attached to anything, and have created, we in America have basically created a class of politician, and that was never the intent. When you look at the first 100 years or so of this nation, the legislative, you would go in, you're a businessman, you owned a business, maybe you were a farmer, and you worked really hard to get to that position. You would go into Congress for maybe 2-3 terms max, and then you were done, and you wanted to go back to life. You wanted to go back to your life. You did your duty, your civic duty, to help the country in a way that you thought, and then you were done. But now you have these career politicians, and that was never the intent. And it's sad that now the presidency more and more is becoming more like a voted-in monarchy, and I hate it. It's not the way the Founding Fathers intended. And regardless of where you are in the world, if you have the opportunity to get involved in your politics and vote, to always pursue something that is not putting power at the head and the peak in one person. You never want that. That never ends well throughout all of world history, and I hope that we as America can really shift ourselves back to that 3 levels of government, the judicial, legislative, and executive, really equally carrying the load and equally helping guide the country to where it needs to be. All right, so with that, let's go ahead and look back in time to a time when people understood that concept. And I'm just going to read some of these quotes to you, starting with George Washington, the first president of the United States. They wanted to make him a king, and he was like, no, I will not be a king. Make me a president. Let's do a couple of voting. He didn't even want to be president, and they basically forced him to. It just shows his heart in wanting to give people control and not be in authority. So George Washington said, associate yourself with men or women of good quality if you esteem your own reputation, for 'tis better to be alone than in bad company. So true. Watch your friends. Check the people that you associate with. Are they bad company? Because it's better to be alone and have your reputation, have your morals, have what you believe in, than to be around people that are going to erode who you are and turn you into them. And that's never a good thing. So great words from George Washington. John Quincy Adams said this. I love this one so much. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. Wow. Man, is that a good template for us. If you're in any form of authority, and maybe you don't even think you're in a form of authority, but if what you're doing inspires others, helps them to learn more, just all that stuff, man, I mean, you are a leader whether or not you believe it or not. And with that leadership, I mean, it's a great quote from Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. You have great responsibility if you are a leader. That people are going to look to you and value your opinion higher than even their own opinion oftentimes. All right, Martin Van Buren, he said, it is easier to do a job right than explain why you didn't. Boom, mic drop right there, Martin Van Buren. This is a great example. When I was an electrician, I was an electrical apprentice for 3 years before I moved on. I did oil company and then did my current job in ministry. One thing that a journeyman that I was being trained by told me, which was so good. He said, anything that you are putting up, we'd be running pipe or, you're putting in a fixture or whatever, you should be able to sign your name to that so that when the next electrician comes in and is looking at it, maybe replacing a bulb or, they're remodeling, whatever, can see your name and you are proud of the work that you did because you did it right. And if they called you up, they're not going to chew you out because you jacked it up or you cut corners or you just kind of Jimmy rigged it in and, crimped the pipe, in a way that wasn't the proper 90 and all those things. That you should be able to sign your name to your work and be proud of it so that people can call you up later and be impressed, be like, wow, great job, not, wow, you totally sucked it up. And so that I've always kept that with me of trying to keep that as a filter, and I'm not perfect, but of this thing that I'm doing, would I be wanting to sign my name to it 20 years from now? And people look back at it and go, wow, that guy Aaron, he really knew what he was doing. Or, no, that kid's a total tool and, just cut corners and didn't know what the heck he was talking about or didn't know what he was doing. To be willing to do things right the first time than to cut corners and explain why you had to cut corners and why you did that. All right, Abraham Lincoln. This one you may not even know. It's going to be kind of an obscure one, but man, I love Abraham Lincoln's story, his heart in holding the country together and keeping us going and overcoming the Civil War and all the things that happened. Self-taught man. He just epitomizes the American spirit in every way, in my opinion, standing for what's right, knowing what's right even when others disagree. And so Abraham Lincoln said this, I do not like that man. I must get to know him better. Wow. Think of the people that just rub you the wrong way. It could be coworkers, particularly like people in your immediate sphere. Coworkers, neighbors, and let's say like married-in relatives. You have a son or a daughter who's dating somebody, or married to somebody, and you're like, I do not like that person. Or, you married into a family, and it's that cousin that you're just like, or father-in-law, mother-in-law, whatever. There's a high probability. Now, there are just terrible people in the world, and there's nothing you can do to get around it. But I believe that's pretty few and far between, that you just don't know people well enough if you don't like them. If you're like, man, well, spend some more time with them. Get to know them. Find out what makes them tick and find out maybe why they are crusty or hard or a jerk most of the time. They may have lived through something that was very difficult. Maybe they lost a loved one. They've just been disappointed in life several times, and then you understand why they are the way they are. And this even is as a microcosm to bring down even closer to when you know somebody really well, you enjoy their company, or you get along fine with them, whatever, maybe not besties, but you don't mind working with them, you don't not mind being in their presence, hanging out with them, whatever it is. If out of nowhere they just like rip your head off, I'll refer to the electrical example. The boss that I had when I was working as an electrician was one of the best bosses I ever had. An amazing man. You know, when I would go do missions trips, he would support me and just like really help me out. I still know him to this day, know his family. They're great people. And so he was very kind, very generous, very loving most of the time. But I remember one time I was running a cable and I was running a batch of wires, and I had a ground wire, and apparently for that run we didn't need ground wire, but no one had told me that. No one had communicated that to me. So I'm running ground wire, and it was a big project, so I mean, one extra ground wire, not a big deal. And he comes walking in, and he just ripped my head off, and it was very out of the norm for him. He's like, "What are you doing running ground wire? We're not supposed to be running ground wire on this job for that. Da-da-da, that doesn't need it. Blah, blah, blah." And just like kept on marching to the back. And I knew, it hurt me because I knew him personally. I was friends with his son. His son and I worked together, and we hung out socially. And that hurt me in the moment. In the moment, I was like, "Ow, oh God, why is he such a jerk?" But I took a moment back, and I said, okay, I know him, and I know that's not who he normally is. I obviously made some sort of mistake. No one communicated to me, but I totally, obviously, ran a ground wire when I didn't need to. But that's not who he is, and I'm not going to hold it against him because I know there's something deeper going on. Who knows? Maybe he just got in a car accident. Maybe he found out that, you know, something's wrong with health problems. I mean, you know, something wrong with the job site that's way bigger than this little moment. And to give grace to him in that moment. And he and I are still great friends to this day. I saw him just the other day. Was able to talk with him and, you know, just see him, and it was awesome. Yeah, to give people grace, and if they act outside the norm, and particularly if they rip your head off, give them grace and try and figure out what the issue is. There's probably something deeper going on, and that's just a reaction, not to you, but to something else that's bigger than you. All right, so here we go. 2 more to go. The first one is going to be, second to last one, is General Ulysses S. Grant said, "In every battle there comes a time when both sides consider themselves beaten, then he who continues the attack wins." So even if you feel like you're down and out, don't give up. Keep pushing, keep persevering, and you will win. And finally, this is so good. Rutherford B. Hayes said, "Every expert was once a beginner." And that's so true. So if you feel like you're not an expert or you have so much to go, absolutely. I mean, I have so much more to learn about life and gear and technique and all those type of things in so many areas of my life that when you see somebody that you aspire to, you're like, man, they're so much better than me. They're so much better at me in the field that I work in the hobby that I like. I mean, just whatever it is. Know that one day, at one time, they were beginners, just like maybe you feel. And you continue to press on, to not sell yourself short, to continue to pursue whatever it is in your life, and you will one day be that expert if you just work hard enough and, you know, just pursue that, and not to get discouraged if you feel like you're so far away from the goal that you have set for yourself. Well, there you have it, folks, that portion of the video. Now I'm excited for this next portion, and I hope that those were just encouraging and motivational for you. And if one of those stood out to you, go research some more of what that particular president said, and maybe they'll motivate you more in life. Now, before we go to the second part, I just want to remind you guys and just thank you for always using the hyperlinks that we offer to you below. Over to Amazon, Blade HQ, always got stuff going on over there, posting up stuff all the time, as well as backcountry.com and Knockaround Sunglass Company. Got great sunglasses for the whole family, and this really transitions us into what I want to talk about for the second part with backcountry.com. So you guys see this hoodie I've been wearing. You may have seen it on Instagram and Facebook. I posted it. Follow us on social media, guys. You find a lot of information behind the scenes that are not always going to make it to videos. But what's really cool is that backcountry.com, you know, they carry a lot, like probably 80% of the gear that I test out. Not necessarily the knives, but I'm talking about like the flashlights, the clothing, the backpacks, like a lot of that stuff, tents. They carry that stuff. They have always like deals going on, 20% off this, 40% off that, discontinued item, you know, like being clearanced items, stuff like that all the time. So I mean, I really am glad that we have been able to partner with backcountry.com, but they have their own brand of stuff as well. They have like a tent that they have clothing, and a couple other gear items, you know, that are like Backcountry brand. And so what's really cool about this particular hoodie is that this is backcountry.com brand, but that this is USA made, and they have a bunch of USA made clothing right now, and a lot of it is on sale when I'm making this video. Obviously prices will change and fluctuate throughout the year. A lot of the winter stuff is on sale like 40% off. I mean, it's nuts. So I really encourage you to go over there, check out the link. I'll have some of that below. So this hoodie, normally it's USA made. Again, it's 80% cotton, 20% polyester. Normally I think it's like $70 for a USA made hoodie. I mean, that's pretty doable. I mean, I'd pay it, but it's like I bought it for $48 and I bought it. So, I mean, and they got lots of color combinations. They got their backcountry logo, the mountain goat, you know, hardy goat. And what I love about this particular hoodie is that the hood's great, you know, got the drawstrings. They have zip ups as well. They have a couple different brand model designs. Is that the sleeves are extra long for my long, you know, like gorilla arms. I mean, I always have a problem with hoodies. They usually are about like an inch shorter. This has an extra inch worth of length and an extra inch worth of length on the lower part as well. So great for those of you who conceal carry and, you know, do that type of thing, or just want like longer, you know, hoodies and stuff. It fits my larger torso that I tend to have a problem with hoodies sometimes really super well. So very comfortable, great weight. It's kind of like a mid-weight. It's not super thick and heavy, but it's not ultra light either. It's great. Right now I think it's like 50 degrees out in the sun and I'm perfect temperature. So they have, you know, like non-hoodie, you know, just sweatshirt versions right now. They have a bunch of t-shirts that are really good, like, you know, 50-50 blends, lots of stuff. So go check out backcountry.com. And that's what I want to kind of hit with you guys in general, is that right now is a great time. You know, it's only mid-February, but companies are already trying to clear out their old 2018-19 winter stuff for the summer. So this is a great time to pick up those winter clothing that you'll need for the last part of this year and into the new year. There's lots of clearances on, again, backcountry.com, but many other companies are clearing out their jackets, their hoodies. So go check out a lot of that stuff. You'll see a lot of companies that sell on their personal websites, also like Outdoor Research, you know, like they're doing clearances right now. North Face is doing clearances. Marmot is doing clearances, but a lot of times they sell on Amazon as well. So those prices are transferring over to Amazon. So again, you can check out those links. And I'm going to have a bunch of clothing, like winter clothing, that you might be able to find on sale in the links below over to Amazon as well. So this is a great time of year, basically, is what I'm saying, guys, to pick up those last minute winter stuff that you might have either need, you know, to replace stuff, or that you're thinking you're going to probably need for next year. There's a lot of deals going on, a lot of sales going on all over the internet right now, and I just encourage you to check them out, look at it. You might find 40 to 50% off stuff on things that normally, like, you know, are $70, you can get for 48 bucks. So I encourage you just to take a look, see what's out there, and you might find yourself something really good, and I highly recommend. I'm just really happy and impressed with a lot of what Backcountry's personal stuff, with being USA made and fitting well, particularly for me, and of good quality. I'm just really digging. So thank you guys so much. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, all the relevant social media, and yeah, looking forward to next week and all the stuff that we got coming down the line. Don't forget about the mailbag. Put hashtag mailbag. We're going to be doing a mailbag Q&A here real soon. And yeah, always remember, stay equipped, stay prepared. See you out there.